Good evening, sir. Jesse Crawford here with my Mod 7 post-lab video reflection. I found this one pretty interesting with the whole setup and stuff like that, watching the gas push the water through. But I'm going to start with the safety hazards. Just as you stated in your video, the glass tubing, I found a way to prevent it. Basically, obviously I don't want to grab at the bottom, put a lot of pressure on the bend of the glass, so I grabbed at the top of the thing while pushing it into the cap where the holes are, and twisted it and it went in. I had a little bit of trouble with the little ones. I didn't have very much trouble getting the plastic tubing on the glass tubes. That went on pretty smoothly. I also took your advice as far as the cylinders and ensuring things didn't fall over. I used my ring stand to hold it in place, along with ensure that nothing else was going to spill over. As far as the experiment, we took sodium bicarbonate and sodium carbonate and mixed it with some vinegar. We had a little solution, a reaction between them. Gases were created, pushed through a tube into another flask that had some water in it. It then filled up the flask, pushing water down and out the tube into the graduated cylinder. All 3 or 4 of mine filled up over the 100 milliliters in the cylinder. The 4th one probably would have also, but there was a small little glitch that happened during mine. They all filled up, so I ended up having a glass ready to go, just as you suggested in yours. And when yours said yours went over the 100 milliliters, I then poured, whatever was over the 100 milliliters, I poured into the cup, getting a reading somewhere under 100 milliliters. I then disposed of it and then added what was in my glass cup back into the cylinder and added that to my first number. I ended up getting from 1 to 4 in my trials, water displaced from 171 milliliters for trial 1. Trial 2 was 89 milliliters. With this one, this goes into sources of my airs, and this was my highest air rating or percentage. This one, when I pushed the cap onto the flask number 1 where the gas was being produced, I didn't push it on hard enough, and it actually popped off. It didn't fall off the flask; it just popped open a little bit, and gas is obviously released and not sending through the tube. So I only got an 89 milliliters of water displaced in that one. Trial 3, I got 105.5 milliliters. Trial 4, I finished off with 105.5. As far as my all-in-all results, for the STP volume for all 4 of them, is in order as trial 1 is 0.158 liters for the volume of the STP standard, and then trial 2 was 0.0823, and then trial 3 was 0.0974, then 0.139 to finish off. As far as the airs for the mole mass, I ended up with 39.4 for the first one, and then again I said this was my highest one at 69.2. Released a lot of things. Again, with the thing going over 100 milliliters, I'm sure there was air in that. Also, there was I tried my best to get all of the water that had made it into the tube also out, because that was also part of the water being displaced. I mean, that water is no longer in the flask, it's in the tube. So there's another possible air situation. And then to continue, I got 53.9% and 34.3. I also got anywhere from 13.28 on my first trial for molar mass, 6.9, which just gives me that massive air percentage, and then 10.325 molar mass for trial 2, and then finally 14.72, which is my lowest, at 34.3% for the air. So again, the sources of the airs were, the flask top popping off, and then just not able to get all of the water out of the tubing into the flask, and the transferring of the flask from that to the glass when it went over 100 milliliters. So this, like you said, I felt like this could have been better prepared, put together. 200 milliliters was probably not enough for some of them. I mean, one of them, my 171 milliliter displaced in trial 1 could have simply been, I didn't actually see what the bottom was, but maybe that last 29 milliliters that was inside flask number 2 wasn't getting picked up due to the glass cylinder, the 6-inch one, not actually reaching all the way to the bottom and leaving that 29 milliliters there. So that could have been the case too, and whatnot. I felt like there was some misguidance on the instructions. As far as the limiting factor, with the limiting reactant mass having an effect on the molar mass volume, I see it as basically if you run out of one, then the production just stops. So depending on how limited the reactant is and how much less it is compared to the other ones, the other chemicals or elements inside the reaction is going to affect it and whatnot. As far as connecting this to the lecture, this is like I said, it was pretty neat because you can see the water being displaced. It's basically if we were to not put that tubing on the second one, only have a single hole in flask number 2, and you add that water, you add nothing in there basically, and the chemical reaction that happens in flask 1 pushes the gas out the tube into flask 2. But if we didn't have another tube coming out, literally the caps would just pop themselves up. I probably would not be able to hold them because the pressure would be just too much for the container that the cap would just pop off, because that's the easiest thing to give on that. I mean, there's not much there to hold them together. I would have to physically hold them to clamp them. At that point, it may even start to break something based on the reaction, and it would probably even stop the reaction from even occurring because there's no space for the gas to go. But since we had an extra tube, we were able to displace the water. It was pretty neat to see the 3-inch tube filling up the air and filling up that space above it, and then again forcing the water down and out the thing. And that was the pressure put on from the gas onto the water, sending it out the tube and into free space, basically. So this concludes my mod 7. I'm sorry, post lab reflection. Again, I felt it a very interesting one and fun to see it in action. And whatnot. Appreciate your time.